I'm going to do a roll call and then we can get started. So, and this is just the order that I wrote them down. So just respond by saying here, it's just, I would do a roll call for our members. So we establish who's present for the Unionville Historic District Commission for this evening. Lisa Johnson.
Here.
Bob Hoffman. Not. Okay. Howard Martin.
Here.
Sherry Horton.
Here.
John Brockelman. No. Barbara Marsh.
Here.
Thank you. Matt Ross.
Here.
And Ann Vibert Wolfing.
Here.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right. This is a meeting of the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission, Thursday, January 7th, 2021. This is a call to order of the public hearing for the Unionville Historic District Study Report dated August 2020 and revised through October 2020 concerning additions to the Lovely Main Historic District, 111, 132, and 142 Lovely Street, and the addition of proposed historic property 796 Plainville Avenue.
And I just, for the record, we'll read in the official legal notice that was posted in the newspaper. Town of Farmington, Unionville Historic District and Property Study Committee. Notice is hereby given that the Unionville Historic District and Property Study Committee will hold an online public hearing on Thursday, January 7th, 2021 at 7 p.m. on the following application. Unionville Historic District Study Report dated August 2020 and revised through October 2020 concerning additions to the Lovely Main Historic District, 111, 132, 142 Lovely Street, in addition of proposed historic property 796 Plainville Avenue. At this hearing, interested persons may be heard and written communications received. A copy of this proposal is on file in the Planning Department and in the Town Clerk's office at Town Hall, Farmington, Connecticut. It may also be accessed on Farmington's official website, https://farmington-ct.gov.org/government/historic-district-commission, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, December 16th, 2020. Unionville Historic District and Property Study Committee, Lisa Johnson, Chair.
Well, welcome everybody. It's an exciting meeting for us. I'll start out just by reviewing the history and purpose of the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission. It was established by the Farmington Town Council in 2008, charged with preserving and protecting the distinctive architecture and streetscape of this special village. There are currently 39 historic properties under the Commission's protection. The ordinance passed by the Town Council when it was established requires that the Commission be composed of 5 regular members and 3 alternates, with the recommendation that at least one of the regular members be a property owner within the historic district. The Town Council appoints the members of the Commission when there are vacancies and when a member's term expires. The Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission has a responsibility to offer property owners the opportunity to list their buildings as historic properties under the Commission's protection. The Commission provides this opportunity on a regular basis for those who elect to protect their historic buildings in this way. Equally important, the Commission takes its role in the education of our citizens very seriously. Programs and tours about Unionville's unique historical architecture are part of the Commission's job to preserve our town's historical character. This evening, we're going to be talking about 4 historic buildings that are coming into the historic district. We'll start out with a short PowerPoint talking about those beautiful buildings. Then we'll move on to a presentation about how the Commission operates and what it's like to be a property owner in the Commission and what it's like to apply for a certificate of appropriateness when you want to make changes to your building. And then we'll finish up with a timeline about the rest of the process about getting your house into the historic district. We're close to the finish line, happy to say. So let's start out with taking a look at these beautiful buildings coming into the district. Got a few slides here. In combination, the 4 proposed historic properties we're presenting this evening tell the broad story of early farming in Farmington's West Divisions to the heyday of manufacturing in Unionville Center. And Shannon, I'll tell you when to switch to make it easier. We're very excited about welcoming these properties to the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission. This map illustrates the district's 39 current properties depicted in gray. 31 of these properties are included in 8 named historic districts because they're contiguous or close to each other. And those districts are the Farmington River District, the Avenue District, Cottage Street District, Merriman Street District, Lovely Main District, Main Street West District, School Street District, and the Cloverpenny District. An additional 8 properties are named as individual historic properties because they're not contiguous or close to others. The 4 new properties we're presenting this evening are highlighted in color on the map. The Hart Nettleson House at 142 Lovely Street is depicted in red. The Albert J. Brewer House at 132 Lovely Street in blue, and the Eugene B. Ripley House at 111 Lovely Street in yellow. These 3 properties will be added to the Lovely Main Historic District, joining the Daniel Johnson House at 99 Lovely Street and the Frederick Crum House at 120 Main Street. The Asa Hawley House at 796 Plainville Avenue, shown in bright green in the inset, will become a historic property. Next slide, please. Thanks. Let's take a look at the properties that will join the Lovely Main Historic District first. Next slide. The beautiful Hart Nettleson House at 142 Lovely Street is an architecturally significant Queen Anne style building with an impressive veranda, elaborately embellished windows, and a pedimented projecting second floor gable. Its form and detailing is unique in Unionville. George L. Hart built the house in about 1885. Hart was a blacksmith who worked in a Unionville cutlery and edge tool manufacturer, probably Pond and Hart Manufacturing, a firm established by his father and run by his brother. The house's beauty and size attest to the firm's success. The house was later owned by Oliver A. Beckwith, Jr., who ran a dry goods store in Unionville Center. Karen Cardillo, the present owner, and her husband Gary have meticulously restored and renovated the house since 1986. Next slide, please. The Albert J. Brewer House is perfectly proportioned. It retains its original architectural character and is a well-preserved example of Unionville's mid to third quarter 19th century residential architecture. The building's Greek Revival style features give it its character, such as the heavy pedimented gable, small arched window, and wide entablature. The present owners, Jack Kemper and Todd Tontanella, renovated and restored the house in 2010 and added a back addition in 2019. They retained most of the original windows and matched replacements to the originals. Porch roof shingles were replaced with red metal sheathing. The house began its existence in 1868 when 24-year-old Mary Jane Graham Brewer purchased land right across from Lovely Street from her brother's house. She and her husband, Albert, a carpenter, built the house themselves. Tragedy struck the young family in 1871 when their eldest child died. 3 years later, Mary was declared insane by the courts and institutionalized for a time before returning to her family. After Albert and Mary died, their children sold the house to John and Ellen Carson in 1945. Jack and Todd have owned the house since 2009. Next house, please, or next slide. The Eugene B. Ripley House is architecturally significant for its distinct Italianate style and elegant detailing. The house is an excellent, well-preserved example of Unionville's most prevalent architecture, reflecting the prosperity that manufacturing brought the town in the 19th century. The three-story house displays the hallmarks of the exuberant Italianate style, a hipped roof with overhanging eaves, wide rim band, and center cross gable, along with a full-width open porch, paired post supports, and scroll sawn brackets. The building's association with Unionville manufacturing is strong. Eugene Bradford Ripley, the builder, was a young bookkeeper for Stanley Rule and Level Company with drive and ambition. In 1871, he established the Ripley Manufacturing Company in Unionville, which became known for producing heavy paper used in binders boards. In 1877, he and his brother-in-law, Frank Chamberlain, gained control of the paper manufacturer Plattner and Porter Manufacturing Company, and he became its president. Ripley built his house sometime between 1874 and 76. Barbara Karski, the current owner, purchased the house in 1996 and has taken care to preserve and enhance the building's elegant character. With the addition of these three special buildings, the lovely Main Street Historic District will now include 5 historic properties. Next slide, please. The 4th historic property we'll take a look at is 3.5 miles away from Unionville Center, situated in what was originally known as the Scots Swamp District. Because of its distance from other buildings in the district, it will be included as a historic property, coming under the guidelines and all the protections of buildings under the guidance of the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission. This lovely house is also the oldest of the proposed new properties. The Asa Hawley House has had a long history as a farmhouse, with its original circa 1800 Georgian-style house added onto several times during the 19th and 20th centuries. The house sits next to an historic 1783 mill to the south and a brook and large pond to the west. The house was the center of a working farm until the mid-20th century, with ownership and/or access to the mill, pond, and stream as important resources for the occupants. The structure is one of the last remaining historic houses in the Scots Swamp Division in Farmington. The Asa Hawley House is historically significant for its long association with the Hawley family, original Farmington settlers, and the Bryant family, which owned the house from 1868 until 1943. Both families played significant roles in the farming and mill communities of the Scots Swamp Division, as well as in Farmington and Unionville. The present owners, Joan and John Barry, are conscientious and thoughtful stewards of this important historic site. Next slide, please. The Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission would like to thank the owners of these proposed properties for including their houses in the historic district and for entrusting the long-term preservation of their properties to the commission. All right, now Howard Martin, one of our commissioners, will talk about the guidelines for construction alterations and applying for a certificate of appropriateness when you want to make changes to your house. Howard?
Okay. Shannon, you could probably figure out when to change the slide.
Probably, but if I'm behind or ahead, don't hesitate to mention.
Okay, so we're going to start with the guidelines overview. The purpose of our commission, the commission's goal is to preserve and protect exterior features that make the community a warm and welcoming one that people want to live in, while allowing for appropriate modifications to properties as the community changes and grows. The authority is limited to decisions that govern only those features, buildings, or parts of buildings that are visible from a public street, way, or place. Note that the commission has no jurisdiction over paint color or landscaping. The standards we abide by are the national standards set by the U.S. Department of Interior, focusing on preservation, rehabilitation, restoration, reconstruction. Our guidelines put a focus on rehabilitation. Continuing with the guidelines. To help property owners make decisions about altering their historic property while identifying, retaining, and preserving historic features. We have this picture here just to give you an example of a home on Farmington Avenue in just south of the intersection where Sanford and Hawley is. This is on the river side of the road. You can see on the picture on the left how the historic character of this building has been retained, and I've been in that building. It's a very, very nice home. But on the back side of the home, you'll see an example of something that's not so historic. For example, that white door there going into their basement, or the vinyl windows on the main floor there. Again, just kind of showing, what we're paying attention to as far as any changes you would want to make on your properties. Next, we go into the application process for certificate of appropriateness. And this is not a overwhelming process. I've been through this during my tenure a few times, and it's a very friendly, helpful working session when we get into it. The rules are it must be submitted at least 21 days before a public hearing can be held. We meet once a month, so basically 3 weeks before that first Thursday of each month. You return the completed form to the town planner's office in the town hall. Your submission should include the completed application, supporting documents detailing the proposed work, such as a site plan or architectural sketches, material spec sheets for the windows, the doors, shutters, roofing, whatever it is you're contemplating, and photos of the area where the work will be conducted. Notifications. The notification of hearing is sent to the property owner. The notice is published in a local newspaper between 15 and 5 days before the hearing. The notice is sent to the abutting property owners. All notices are completed by town staff. A sign must be posted on the property for 7 days before the hearing. It's available at the town planner's office, and the requirement is a $35 deposit, refundable upon return. Before I get into the wording here, the picture on the left is definitely not what we're all about.
Oh boy.
But the picture on the right is more accurate to what we're doing. It's really a working session, and once our COVID situation is over, we'll be actually sitting down at a table and talking about it and going over what thoughts you might have as far as your improvements go. Property owner will speak and answer questions from our group about the proposed changes, and anyone attending from the public will also have the opportunity to comment. Regarding the decision, a written notification of the approval or denial will be sent to the property owner within a few business days. Once a decision is rendered, there's a 15-day appeal period. If no appeal, the decision is final. Our requirement is we must render a decision within 65 days of the filing for the application. And the last slide shows the historic Unionville Historic District plaque that is available. And I'm sorry, I don't know if there's any costs involved with that, but maybe somebody could share that.
There is a nominal fee. I'm thinking I can't remember if it's $65 or $75 for the plaque and the bracketing to secure it. Okay.
All right.
All right. I think I'm up next then.
You are.
I am. So I'm gonna slide these down, and so mine's a little cumbersome with dates and times, but I get the pleasure of walking through what our statutory requirements are from a time frame standpoint. So basically through tonight, when we finish tonight, we will have completed through step 3. And then the rest of it is what's yet to come, steps 4 through 8. So And of course, I know all of you are very familiar with the executive orders, the variety of executive orders that have taken place since the pandemic hit us in March of 2020. And with that, one of the executive orders obviously affects how we conduct business at a local and state level, and our ability to process permits. So all of these timelines, one of the executive orders basically adds 90 days to all the permitting timeframes and the various steps. So so the times that you see here have already accounted for some of the leeway that's allowed with that executive order. Our first step was obviously we completed the study report, which was mailed to all of you. You would have received in your packets, and that was completed in August. And that study report was then submitted to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission and the Historic Preservation Council, the State Historic Preservation Council. Their offices are in Hartford. And we received positive endorsements from both with no comments that need to be completed from either agency. Farmington's endorsement we received on September 28th, 2020, and the Historic Preservation Council came in on December 1st, 2020. And copies of those were sent to all of our new prospective homeowners, additions to the district, and I have them for viewing on the screen before we finish up tonight. The next step is what we're in right now, and that was the public hearing. So once we had these comments back, we could then set the public hearing. And of course, we have to do legal notices prior to that public hearing. Part of that were the mailings to all of you with the report and the map and the ordinance and these approvals that I mentioned above. And we were also obligated to run legal notices in the newspaper, and those notices ran on December 24th and December 31st of 2020. So after tonight, obviously as part of this process, you folks will all be have an opportunity to ask us any questions and get any clarifications you want, so you're clear as to what this means for you and for your home and property. And then our next step as the committee, we will finalize the report, take any comments and corrections if there are any to be made. And this final report then gets recorded with the town clerk's office and is submitted to town council. And just assuming there's a few things to change and edit, I have an estimated date of the end of January to have this filed with the town clerk. And then that would have this being received at the first meeting in February with the town council. The town council would accept that, accept the report formally then at that point, and we'll consider scheduling public hearings once they finish step 5. So the next step then after getting it to town clerk and town council is the town clerk has to issue paper ballots to all owners joining the historic district. So these are the owners of 111, 132, and 142 Lovely Street. So this is basically your final option to say and let us know definitively, yes, you wish to join the district. So the clerk will, our town clerk will mail you these ballots. The property owners will have 15 days from the date of mailing to return the ballot, and the deadline is set by the town clerk. And legal notice has to be posted. So the town clerk takes care of doing the legal notices. All you will be responsible for is the ballots have to be returned to the town clerk by the close of business on the day that is specified in the letter that is sent to you. And we anticipate that happening somewhere, obviously after January 27th, and then there's a 65-day window. So somewhere into mid-March. I'm assuming no one is traveling, but if you are traveling and we need to direct these other than your home address, then I'd simply ask that you let us know. Because if we miss this 15-day window, then your home can't be added into the district on this round. So, so that's just a critical point, and just to stay in touch. I think you all have my email address, so it should be fairly easy to keep that communication open. Then for our property at 796 Plainville Avenue, their step 5 is a little different because it's a historic property. They don't have the same balloting option that the homes going into the historic district have. This particular property, basically this public hearing is their final official item, and then they simply, if they wish to withdraw from having their property added, then they need to send a written notarized letter to us no later than February 5th. It's 30 days from the date of this public hearing in order to withdraw that request if they have, for whatever reason, had a change of mind. So, so those are the two next steps that are important for the homeowners to keep in mind and to watch. Again, it'll be towards the end of January, most likely February, when those would be hitting your mailbox. Once the balloting is finished and the ballots are returned to the town clerk has 15 days to certify the results and tally the results and provide a report back to town council. Town council will then notice and hold a public hearing. And this typically happens towards the front end of the town council meetings when they hold their public hearings. And they will then, basically I go in and do the same an abridged version of this presentation, really an abridged version of the presentation that Lisa presented this evening, and tell them about the properties that are being added, explain this time frame briefly for them, and review the ordinance, because the town ordinance, as you saw with your packets, the town ordinance also has to be formally revised in order to include your properties into the district, and that's captured in the edits to the ordinance. So they'll hold that public hearing. It'll be noticed the way all the usual town council meetings are noticed, and then they've got additional notifications, newspaper notifications that are done for the public hearing. At that point, at that meeting, typically it'll be adopted. It can be accepted as presented. They can reject it if there, for whatever reason, there's opposition to it, or they could return it to us for additional considerations and revisions. And then there's additional timeframes if that happens. We did this in 2018. Obviously, we try to do this as a very open process with everyone, so that by the time we get to town council, we're really just looking at step 7A. We're very fortunate that you folks are willingly requesting to have your properties added into these districts. So we have this accepted at town council, and then it gets officially ratified because with the town ordinance. The town ordinance is the final ratification. The official maps get updated here in our office, and an official map is provided to the clerk's office. So before summer, it could be as early as April. It may even be March, depending upon how quickly the balloting goes and we get this pushed through. But certainly, April or May, depending upon budgets and referendum discussions, and when the town council can get this on their agenda. And then that would take care of the adoption of your homes into the district. And that would complete that process. And I don't have anything. Oh, I do. I just want to show for the record on the, for our presentation purposes, these are the town TPZ meeting minutes from their September 28th, 2020 meeting, indicating that the Unionville Historic District Properties Committee study report was reviewed with the Planning Commission, and they had a positive endorsement of the report, and the State Historic Preservation Office. Similarly, this is their letter from December 1st, and positive endorsement of 796 and the addition of the properties to the Lovely Maine Historic District. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. And I think we can open it up to questions, Lisa, unless you'd like to have any closing remarks or anything you'd like to add.
No, I think this is, thank you, Shannon. This is the time for questions. So
Okay.
please, anything that's on your mind, ask. Jack, you must have a question.
Do you have a question? Oh, okay. Well, I have a statement, really. I think there is a online, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa and Shannon, there's a guide for the historic district of you know, what materials and the process. So all of this stuff is online, correct?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, Jack. So the commission, early in its existence, established written guidelines for rehabilitation. So these are online. These are for property owners in the district to know with certainty what the commission expects and what the commission has purview over, what it doesn't have purview over. So you should bookmark that, refer to it, read it often. The Unionville Commission has worked very hard to make sure that the guidelines work for people with not fat wallets. I'll just say it that way. And to move into the future with technologies such as solar panels in a proactive way. So you should read those, you should bookmark them, you should have a printed copy, because that in essence is your contract with the commission. That tells you what the commission is going to be looking at, what the commission evaluates, and therefore the kinds of projects you could do and how you could do them. It doesn't mean that if you have a different idea that you can't come in and talk to us, you can, but those guidelines are critically important. These are not speculative decisions that are made in the commission meetings. These are based on the guidelines. So Jack, thanks for bringing that up. Have I think you all received a written copy of the guidelines in your packets. Did you all get a copy of that?
I don't think
Yes, we did.
you did good. Okay, I couldn't remember if the guidelines were in there. If not, I'll make sure an email goes out so everyone has the PDF copy.
Great.
So the COA application, the certificate of the process for the COA, and the construction guidelines and the guidelines for construction and alterations, I'll get emailed out to everyone.
Terrific. Thanks, Shannon.
So along with that, in those guidelines, it talks about the amount of time in which you would get a response if you had put in to do some changes. And I think it was 65 days, if I remember off the top of my head. My concern was if you had something that needed to be done immediately, something occurred or whatever that somehow affects the how the house can be seen from the street or whatever, that is too long a period of time if it was some structural issue that was going on. How is that managed?
We have special meetings and we're very responsive when a property owner has something that's immediate, or if a property owner submits, you know, a few days late and can't make the next meeting, we will hold a special meeting. And I don't believe, yep.
I'm sorry, Lisa. No, so I was thinking, you know, something happens, there's water damage, there's something that you actually can't wait to say, gee, I'm going to call or call the commission to say this needs to be done because you're going to end up with further property damage.
Right.
How is that then looked upon? Because you may need to, it's an old house and you certainly may need to do something quickly. Though it is outside the boundaries that are outlined here. So that was a concern that I did have.
So the and this is happening more and more frequently now, when a property owner in the district replaces something like for like, you do not have to come in for a certificate of appropriateness. So the best thing to do is to call or email Shannon and say, a tree fell through my roof. I've got to get it reported. It's going to be the same color shingles as, you know, we have now. Shannon sends that around to me. We go ahead and say, yep, that's absolutely right, go. So you don't have to wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was certainly one of my concerns, because it seems like the time lapse can be
Oh, yeah.
significant when you're looking to avoid further problems.
Yes. Even, I'll just say, even with these, you know, if there's an emergency situation, we had the, you know, the strong storms came through this summer, and there were trees down, and a few homes had damage to the roof or porches or whatnot. Even those repairs still require building permits, you know, because we need to make sure, particularly if it's a roof, you know, that we want to make sure, you know, for your sake and future homeowners' sake, that that roof gets repaired correctly and is done with, you know, the structural integrity will continue for that roof. So building permits are still required. Obviously, it's expedited, right? We know phone calls are made, the building office knows, I'm then notified, and everything is expedited when there is an emergency situation. Obviously, too, sometimes it's just temporary repairs are made and there's sheathing put on until final pit repairs can be made, and that happens as well, depending upon the nature and extent of the situation that has arisen. So we try to react fairly quickly with homeowners. We get this regularly. You know, water damage inside. Obviously, we don't. The commission doesn't take care of anything internal to the home, but we, from a staff standpoint, get situations all the time where there's water damage inside the home for a variety of reasons. And these things need to be taken care of immediately. You know, we need to react to some of these things within, you know, the same day, if at all humanly possible. So, and we try to do that.
And I will say also, Karen, that I can't think of an instance since the commission's been in place where we didn't make a decision about a COA at the meeting at which it was presented. So I think there was only one situation where we had to pause a bit, but that 65 days is way outside. We always make a decision right at the meeting. And it's getting the proper information up front from the property owner that makes the difference there. We know what you're going to do. We know how you're going to do it, and you're there to answer questions and present, and we're able to make a decision at that meeting.
Well, that's great. And you know, I also when I looked at this, at the definition of ordinary maintenance, because certainly part of, we would only be interested in this because we obviously care about the historic nature of these houses and have put a whole lot of love into them. But certainly we need to be able to maintain them in a way. They're old structures and they need that type of care. So, you know, I would hope that we could continue to maintain them in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Go
ahead. Yeah.
I've got two others. I'm sorry. Before so in the history of this property, some of the information in our history actually isn't correct for this house. I actually think this house was built in 1906, and it was actually built by the Beckwiths. So the original house that was on this property was on the foundation that our garage currently exists on. And that house had burnt down. So, and we do have the Beckwiths initials on our our front stairway, because that was with the original to the house. So certainly that kind of coincides with the history. So to look at that piece, so some changes would be needed to be made there. And the other question that I have was to talk about the benefits of being part of the commission. So not only to be part of the historic district, not only in terms of knowing that you have the support of maintaining historic property, but what are, to hear more about some of the other benefits as well.
Well, the bottom line benefit of being in a historic district in Connecticut is that you, the property owners who come after you, have to cleave to the same guidelines that you are cleaving to in the preservation and renovation and maintenance of your house. So what you're doing in putting it in the district is assuring that that continues. It's assuring that someone doesn't put a glass elevator on the front of your building, or all the nightmares that can happen. So that is the primary benefit. The benefit with you and your neighbors is part of the commission's charge is to take a look at the streetscapes as well, because we like to live in historic buildings, but we also like to be part of historic neighborhoods. And so there's a responsibility there on the commission's part to recruit, new property owners and bring them into the commission, under the protection of the commission, so that our streetscapes retain the character that this village has enjoyed for so many years. Beyond that, of course, there are the rehabilitation tax credits that are available to private property owners in Connecticut, which I think are 30% reimbursable expenses for qualified expenses in any exterior or interior renovation of your house. That's almost like a grant program that you have to apply to the State Historic Preservation Office, but it is available to both private residential owners and also to commercial owners, but that's a separate program. The rate is a little lower. I don't know if it's lower or higher for commercial. Brian, you would know that. So that is a distinct advantage. And that's something that we started to send the information to our property owners out just 2 years ago. We had someone from SHPO come and do a presentation to our property owners. We opened it up to the community. I mean, cash is a nice thing when you own a historic house. And it's not a tax credit. It is actually you get a check in the mail. So it's a rigorous grant process. I know Brian Lyman has been through it for some of his properties, but it certainly is worth it, and it's worth planning for. And we'd like to see more of that money come to Unionville, frankly. Other commissioners, Shannon, other benefits that you can think of. Those are the. I think those are
the primary. I mean, obviously, the Unionville Historic District Commission, I'll say, is robust and active. So, the benefit is being part of the opportunity to participate in the educational meetings that take place, which and get early notification on them. We certainly open them to the community. It's not limited to the members, but just having the sounding board and having your fellow members to bounce ideas off of, and the commission's been fantastic about holding educational meetings. Typically once a year. Obviously, we didn't hit 2020, but we've pivoted and adjusted to meeting in Zoom, and we intend to do some educational meetings in 2021, understanding that they'll be via Zoom. So there is that opportunity as well, and just a wealth of knowledge and sounding boards of your co-membership within the historic district, and it's really a great group and great camaraderie with respect to keeping the properties in great condition. So
thank you.
Of course.
Okay, Anna, may I say something? This is Jack.
Hey,
I
Jack.
think one of the things that interested us is that I think the more properties that are in the district, the stronger it becomes. And I think it goes, I see the main thing is kind of protecting and guarding the character of where we live. And yeah, as we get more properties in the district, it becomes stronger. And I just think that's important.
Karen, you and I will correspond via email because I'll need that historical information from you. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, very good.
Thanks. Yeah, any other questions or concerns?
I think we have a little typo for you on ours.
Oh, okay, send it along.
Yes, it's Todd Fontanella, not Tantanella.
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay. Huh. That's a bad one. Todd, sorry.
Not a problem.
Okay.
And I'm not, nobody has, it's been pretty informal. You don't really need to raise your hand, obviously. If you've got a question, we can just jump in, but it seems, and I'd add, if there's anyone else from the public, just for a formality standpoint, and if there's anyone else that has any other questions, you're certainly welcome to ask your question as part of this public hearing. There's no, I'm not seeing anyone else making any indication of having a question.
Okay, good.
What does the, this is Todd Fontanella. I had a quick question. As part of our participation in being part of the district, do we become part of a guide that's offered to the public for tours, like at various times that are handed out to people?
Yeah, so you, Lovely Street is already, there's already a written guide to the architecture on Lovely Street. So that is actually available on the town website on the Unionville Historic District Commission page. We have had printed copies. I think we're close to running out of them, but we will probably reprint them because they were so very popular. And as soon as COVID is behind us, we're going to bring back those walking tours. We just,
Yeah.
they were
Nice.
just great, wonderful in so many ways. So hang on, folks. They're coming back.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right. If there aren't any more questions, and we will close this public hearing then.
And I'll pop
Let's
this
see.
up.
Karen, I'll talk to you, and Todd, I'll just make sure I've got your name right this time.
That's
That would be nice. And, you know, informally, if you have any
If his
questions,
name is wrong, can we put up vinyl siding?
okay, one demerit.
Come on. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear.
They're going to be a challenge.
Trouble.
Informally, if any of you have any other questions, please get in touch with Shannon or with me, or with any of the commissioners.
to do this. I just wanted to say that. We're happy to.
What
Lisa and I were on the committee. How long ago was that? The original
Oh,
committee?
golly,
It's got to be like 30 years ago now or something.
it feels like it. Yeah, our first attempt failed.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We learned some very important lessons and changed our way of doing things. So glad to
Yeah,
be
it's a much friendlier process now.
much friendlier. It feels just right now. So
Even the Farmington Historical District is more friendly too. So
see, things are moving in the right direction.
that's right.
Good. All right. Well, we'll close this public hearing now. And those of you who have come in only for the public hearing, you're welcome to stay for our regular meeting. But if not, we won't be hurt. And we'll see you another time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much for attending.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, neighbors. And just Lisa, before we adjourn from the public hearing and open the commission, if we can get a motion regarding the report so that we can have this sent to town council and the town clerk.
So let me just ask a technical question. Karen Cardillo's changes, I will need to make those. Do you want to, should the motion should include as amended?
Just as amended. Yep, the
Yeah,
report, the report as amended, I think how they were explained was sufficient.
Yeah, okay.
So it would just be to move to have the report presented to town council and the town clerk, and move the report as present with amendments as noted during the meeting.
So I'm going to make that motion based on what Shannon just said, everybody.
Second.
Thank you. I think we need someone just, let's see, do we have it?
Yeah, I think Bob Hoffman called in. Bob, are you there?
Bob is
Here he
here. He's there.
Oh, good. Then
Yeah.
we've got everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is, but I
Yeah.
need his microphone. You got to unmute yourself, Bob, so you can participate.
Sorry.
There we go.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. Any discussion or comments? No. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any noes? Great. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Good. All right, now we'll move on to our regular meeting. Nice to see you all. Hope you had a nice holiday. We'll take a look at the December 3rd, 2020 meeting minutes. Did you all have a chance to look them over? Or do you remember with precision what we did in December?
Sure,
Seems like a lifetime ago.
it does.
Does everyone have them, or do you need me to put them on the screen?
I don't have them.
You don't have, all right, give me 1 sec, I'll grab them. Let me.
Barbara, let me know when you've had a chance to read through them, okay? Give me some time. No hurry.
Oh, about that. Yeah, I have those. Nope. The roof. Okay. Yeah.
All good? Okay,
Yep.
thank
it's all
you.
good.
Can I have a motion to approve the December 3rd, 2020 minutes?
I make a motion to approve the December 3rd, 2020 minutes.
Thank you, Howard. A second?
Second,
Up and saying second.
Awesome. Any discussions, corrections?
just correct Todd's name.
I know, you know,
Okay, that must, okay.
I just have to say for the record, that's the way his name is in the land records. So
It is on the land, right? Yeah.
yeah, so I have to let him, I didn't want to bring that up. That would be like putting salt on the wound, but okay, we'll get that fixed. All right. Thank you, Sherry. All in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? No, okay, minutes approved. Right, the educational meeting that we have planned for the spring. So,
That's going to be on Zoom?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, we're not quite there yet. So Matt, were you going to check with Sanford and Hawley? I'm a little fuzzy on my
Yes,
memory.
and I've been. I want to make sure I was off of mute. Yes. and I've still been playing phone tag with Bob Sanford. So one of the things that I did leave in my messages was the fact that we would be doing this via Zoom. I wanted to double check with the commission on what our goals were with Sanford and Holly, given that we're going to be doing this via Zoom and we're not going to be able to see materials in person. What are the topics that we're looking to have them focus on at this point?
Hang on, because I think we actually talked about.
I think we were interested in new materials that might be out there that, as we did with the ASIC, new materials on the market recently that would be good substitutes for buildings in the district.
Yeah, you hit it. I just had to go back to the notes.
Yeah.
All right. And that's what I thought too. I just wanted to double check as he and I are kind of leaving messages with each other. Is that still the focus given the fact that we're not going to be able to see these materials in person, or do we want to pivot to a different topic that's more conducive to Zoom?
Do you have any ideas, Matt? What?
Unfortunately, no. I've been racking my brain.
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it?
Right.
Hey, what about, I know this is a departure from nuts and bolts, but Frank Sanford is sort of the Sanford and Holly historian. Could he do a presentation on the history of Sanford and Holly? That's historical, but it's so interesting. And I don't think I've ever heard Frank give a presentation, but I know he has a ton of family photos.
Okay.
I don't know. What do the rest of you think? It's something visual.
Yeah,
Good idea.
I'm always interested in anything historical, but I was also just thinking, even though people can't see as clearly on Zoom than if they had a piece of material that they could see and hold, if they're thinking of putting on new siding of some kind, and he discusses them and shows samples that this material is more durable, it's better for water, cold climates, whatever, then at least they can have a place to start looking. They have to go in and look at it anyway, but at least, okay, I didn't know that this existed and now I have an option.
So you're saying, Barbara, it may not be perfect, but there's
right. I still think it would be very beneficial. He could also talk about the history. That's always interesting.
Okay.
So
new materials, we'll just stick with that. And tell them they have to be creative, Matt.
Okay.
Oh, sure. I mean, they have their website, so it'd be really pulling, if they've got not so much the spec sheets, but there's lots of different colored brochures. I mean, whether it's them themselves or the underlying manufacturer, there's got to be quite a few colored brochures, and I'm sure folks at some point have done a side-by-side of, hey, this is your traditional siding, and this is how the cement board works and whatnot, and perhaps have just a different opportunity for visuals that you could do and show on the screen if different demonstrations have been done, and then we can pull that in as part of the presentation.
Yeah, people are so used to shopping online that I don't know if it's really that different. But of course, a building material, you're still going to have to go in and feel it. And
isn't that a good thing from their point of view, though? I mean, if I were a Sanford and Holly person, I would be thinking, what get somebody in for us, and that would be a plus for them, I would think, to have to give people some information, but say, come on in if you want to see it up close,
Yeah. It's a benefit to them, man. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So the AirServe people are willing to do something about air conditioning in historic houses. They've done a number of houses in South Windsor, which is it's a big historic district, beautiful buildings. They just need a date. They want a date to kind of work toward. They don't, I think they'll probably have a lot of commercial illustrations to put up on the screen, but that's okay. So I didn't know if we had settled on sort of a range, if we were looking at March, April, or.
I would think either your February or March meeting we could do. I know typically I think we've kept it on the Thursday night. I think even when we did the joint one with the historic district, the Farmington Historic District, when we did the tax credit, I think that was
Okay.
I think it was our traditional meeting date and time.
Okay.
And obviously if we have a COA application come in, then we'll figure that out as we need to. You know, we always seem to get that to work. So,
Okay.
so I think we just tell them either, you know, they can have the choice of whether they want February 4th or March 4th.
Is that enough time to let people in the town know?
So,
Maybe go with March.
February.
Yeah, I think February may be too soon to let everyone know. And
yeah, we would
to their Zoom
typically we'd only
plans.
send the mailings out 2 weeks in advance, because more than that
okay.
is more than that we don't find to be very
Okay.
useful. But we can do either. March, I'll agree. March 4th is easier than February 4th from a timing standpoint, but I can make either work.
Okay, well, let me ask them for March 4th. And then,
Okay, that's good.
Maybe Sanford and Holly then could do, if they agree, could come in for the early April. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, great. I'll let you know then. I'll check in with them tomorrow and let you know.
How is their COVID?
What's that?
They tested positive for COVID? You said what, last meeting?
Who did? Oh, the
Oh,
people.
yeah, the kind of manager of our project. Yeah, and he spent 2 weeks at home and got over it and then tested negative. So he came back in and finished the project for us.
Excellent.
Yeah. Young guy too, in his 30s.
It's them all.
I know. Yeah. Okay. All right,
Good.
great. Well, that's exciting. I know we won't want to think about air conditioning in March, but we should start, right?
You know, we've had days in April in the 90s. So.
Yeah, true. All right. Anything else about the educational meeting anybody'd like to discuss?
No, just once we get them nailed down and confirmed, and we'll want to get a flyer or something, you know, whatever, a news brief, whatever we want to get mailed out, emailed out, and decide how broad a net we want to cast. You know, we can do mailings to both historic districts, and if it'd be nice if we can get both of them lined up and do one, you know, do 2 notices and 1 mailing.
Yeah.
So if we can get them confirmed, then that would be great, because then we can do 1 mailing. But it's not awful to have to do 2. But
All right.
So March is budget time. Is that going to interfere with anything here? Do we have any money to do that?
Mid-March is budget time, or as far as meetings.
yeah, the meetings, but I don't think that I don't think it's going to impact.
No.
Hang on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think
Early February is budget time for Board of Ed. So by avoiding early February, we're good.
Okay, good. That worked out well then. Good. Okay. All right, good. So then under, yeah.
we're okay. So the town council, it's the following week, town council has their budget meetings, and then that Saturday all day on the 13th.
Right.
So we're good. We're good up here on the 4th, and then even
April as
on
well.
April 1st, we're fine. Oh my goodness, that's right. I didn't realize that's Good Friday, and Easter is I had no idea. It was so early this year. So, but yeah, so that's still fine. That works. So I think both are good, and
Great.
both dates are doable.
Okay, March 4th and April 1st it is then. Good. Under other business, Ed, do you have anything to tell us about the town council and how things are going, or?
So as you guys talked about in the going into next year, we start getting into the budget process. So of course, things will get busy there. Coming up at our next meeting, the Racial Equality Task Force is going to be presenting their findings and recommendations to the town council. So that's probably one of the kind of more interesting things that's coming up soon.
Great.
Thank you.
And Shannon, do you have anything to tell us about things going on in Unionville that might pertain to our work?
Not that I can recall. I've been neck deep in a couple of wetland matters and other things. So I'm trying to think. I don't think there is anything else. I know we talked about in December the Midpoint Development District, and they were successful in securing the zone change and approval of the master plan. So the next step will be for them to really advance and detail those plans and then make a submission for site plan. But it would be late spring, I would think, at the earliest that we'll see those documents. And it could even be later. You know, the developers, these things have a way of kind of taking on a life of their own and revolve and morph. So, but I would, given the volume of work that needs to get done to advance those plans, the earliest I would expect them is mid-spring. So, but it was a successful first step, to be sure. But yeah, Ion Bank obviously is almost is finished. I believe they are open now. The CO was issued at the end of the year. There's a couple of punch list items that they're taking care of with us. We had to have them come back to TPZ because they got there's just some discrepancy in some of the details, and we felt it warranted coming back to TPZ. So they had that conversation in December with the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, and those modifications are being implemented. And so there's some final things, and I think some final planting. So come spring, it should, you know, we did a CO, we have a bond to make sure that these final items are taken care of. So.
Okay, good. Yep. I have just a note on my calendar. Is this the year, Shannon, that we need to review our guidelines? We do it every 3 years, I think.
We certainly can. I think it's been a smidge. So the last I have, July 2016 is the last time the guidelines were really, we pulled them apart and took a look. And I think we updated the National Park Service links and really went through, I think, section by section, and just made sure that the information in each of the sections was still relevant and correct for references and information that was being provided. So
yeah, I think this may be a task for us this year.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I
We'd
think
like
so.
to review those on a regular basis to make sure that they're current, up to date, that we include any new information that may need to be included, particularly about new materials available and also new technology after solar panels. Who knows what comes next? That's what we have Matt for, to tell us. But it's
And
always-
accurate websites too.
and accurate websites.
Right. Well, that's we had to do that at the last time, is update the
Yeah.
link for the National Park Service. So
Yeah.
you're right. It certainly warrants taking a look to make sure those are all still valid.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look at those and divide them up in some way. And at the next meeting, we can Yeah, at our next meeting, we can start to talk about how we'll divide that up and how we'll approach that work. And I will tell you that I think we're ahead of the curve, Unionville Historic District, because I had an opportunity to work with the Tacoma Park Historic District, which is right outside Washington, D.C. And they are having a battle royal right now about solar panels. They will not allow it in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, and they have property owners that are taking the district to court over it. It's really interesting.
Wow.
Well, the property owners are gonna prevail. They're gonna be
They will.
real.
Yeah.
They will, yeah.
And they should, and they absolutely should. So it's
Yeah.
just very interesting to watch a
Holy
historic
moly.
district that is hanging on to the old ways and not being
Yeah.
proactive about moving ahead, trying to stay ahead of what people
Wow.
are going to need in the future. So anyway, I'll
I'm
keep.
glad we're not quite that far into the,
Yeah, exactly.
it's
I'd
2020.
Lisa?
like to take Farmington Woods to court over that.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
Howard.
our design and review committee, absolutely not, ever. Like, really? And we're
Wow.
all electric heat.
It's
So
expensive up there.
Oh,
it
that's-
can be, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
rough. What were you going to say, Howard?
I just wanted to know, what state is that in? In Virginia or
It's in,
Maryland?
Maryland. It's
Okay.
Maryland. So Tacoma Park. It's 2 words, Maryland. It's a Tony neighborhood, although not really high end, but they've got a very strong historic district. A lot of bungalow architecture. That's really
Oh.
great, and people take great care of their property. The paint color schemes are marvelous, but they're running into some trouble now because young people don't want to buy these houses. You know, they want cell phone access, they want solar panels, they want modern technology, and so they've come to kind of an interesting point.
Huh.
They don't have cell phone access?
They
There are
do
no towers in the area?
Yeah, no, they do have
Right.
towers in the area, but the young people want to do some other things. They want access, not just in their homes. They want it to be public wireless access.
Oh, yeah,
And,
yeah,
not just for themselves, but they see it as a social justice issue.
I do
So
too.
it's,
Oh, yes,
absolutely.
it is.
So it's interesting that, historic districts get caught up in this sometimes, even when they don't want to be. So it's better to be proactive. But I'll see
Sure
if I
is.
can find some material to send to all of you about it. You'll find it very interesting.
Yeah,
You'll,
yeah.
you'll be very
It'll
glad.
it'll make me feel good about where it'll be fabulous. I'm like, oh, at least I'm not dealing with that.
Yes,
Right.
very happy. There are a lot of lawyers in that area, so it's yeah.
Keeping everybody busy. Wow. That's
Mhm.
really a strong position to take on their part, Bob.
I think so too.
How are they on coal burning furnaces? Do they take coal?
I guess if it's historic, yeah. Oh man, too much. All right, does anybody have anything else they'd like to talk about or bring up? No? All right.
All quiet.
All quiet. Well, thank you, everybody. This was an exciting meeting, and it's good to see everyone.
Job well done.
Yeah.
Good job, Lisa.
Thank you.
Shannon.
Always.
All of you.
Thank you.
I shall go read your email, Matt.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll see you in February. Be in touch beforehand, but take good care. Stay safe.
You too.
you as well.
Too.
You as well.
All of you. Okay.
Have a
Bye,
good night,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.